Hello, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider podcast. Just literally left the locker room. Talked with Pete Carroll today. Did not talk to Pete Carroll today. Apologize. Sorry. Talked with the coordinators, Patrick Graham and Chip Kelly. Talked with Geno Smith. Talked with Delmar DJ Glaze, the mule. Had a conversation in Zamir White. I had a conversation with um, Colton, but not football, just conversation. And just try to encourage him. He's such a competitor, such a fighter and a scrapper. It's got to be driving him crazy to not be able to play. And just encouraged him. He's a wonderful, wonderful young man. I've told you guys all along. Colton Miller is a great player who is a better human, and just a good chance to talk to him. Had a lot of interesting conversations today. I'm going to share that with you, and then I'm going to give you some more takeaways that I've been ruminating on since yesterday's press conference with Pete Carroll. Um, let's just cut right to the chase. I said to Chip Kelly, I said, there's been significant criticism of your usage of Ashton Jeanty. Um, Obviously, he's in a bubble. He's not reading the internet, and he's not. I don't believe he is. I don't believe any coach sits there and reads the internet. I believe all of them know what's said because I've been doing this for so long. I remember one coach who used to always say, I don't ever go looking for anything on the internet. And then he would kind of look at me because a relative of mine worked for him who would go print everything on the internet and bring it to him. So he used to say, I never look at the computer at anything. And he didn't. They would just print stories. Um, but they all know. Their wives tell them, their kids tell them, their family tells them. They all know. I promise you that. Um, and But I just said, is I know you're in a bubble and you're not paying attention to it, but do you think it's germane, or do you think it's all ado about nothing? Um, the video's up, so you can go watch it. Clearly, he didn't think it was much to do about anything. I mean, he talked about he asked me, is any the leader, rookie rusher, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I can tell you this: he's not concerned about it. At least his verbiage is, and I'm not going to sit here and call the man a liar. I don't believe that's what he is. I think he was being completely sincere. I don't think he cares about the criticism. Don't think it matters to him, which is fine. Um, I still think it's a terrible mistake, you know, to compare him to all of the other rookie rushers. Well, you picked him six overall. You don't pick running backs sixth overall uh, in this market, in my opinion, and in the opinions of many in the NFL, for 13 touches. I don't get it. Doesn't make sense to me. I'm going to keep beating a dead horse here because I think it's part of the reason that they're struggling. I mean, your defense was just on the field for 15 extra minutes. And you wonder why, they gave up so many points. Now, the tackling, we're going to get to that in a minute. But sorry, I just, I know it's being talked about in the NFL because I'm talking to people. I've had people text me, what the blank is going on? What's up with this? I had one person uh, literally called me, couldn't get me. Shannon answered, said, I'll go get Hondo. He's in the shower. He'll call you in a minute. And he goes, let me ask you. And he said to Shannon, is that Jeanty hurt? And she's like, not that I know of, but I don't know. And he asked me, and I'm like, no, he's not hurt. So in an entire draft, okay, he has the most yardage according to Chip. Okay. But I'm a 227-pound man. Okay. I've lost over 200 pounds, but I'm still a huge fat guy. I mean, that's how just how I perceive. And that's like saying, okay, I'm the skinniest of the fat guys. Well, okay, well, you're still fat. Or let's do this one. I'm the ugliest. I'm the skinniest of the fat guys. Okay, well, I'm still fat. Or you're the best looking of the ugly guys, which I'm ugly. It, neither one of those are really monikers. I mean, it's still okay. So you're the most used, but you also picked them sixth, not sixth round. You pick them sixth, and so my sentiment is, why pick him there then? If that's your perception, why pick him there? Well, I think the perception is much higher of him than uh, maybe what Chip has, or whatever Chip's usage is. And so to me now, the conversation shifts back to Monday, where I asked Pete, and Pete said he was not concerned. And that's fine. If Pete's not concerned, and I don't think he lied, um, my belief is that he is concerned based on his track record. And I'm going to clarify this because I don't think he's lying, but he trusts Chip. So I don't. When he says I'm not concerned, I think he totally trusts Chip. And so I'm saying this as a neutral observer. I'm not a fan or a member of the organization. That's concerning to me if Pete's not concerned, because enough people around the NFL are raising it as a legitimate concern that it is a legitimate concern. I'm sorry, just it's a legitimate one for all the reasons I've already pointed it out. So to me, if you're a Raider fan and you're not concerned, great. Uh, but if you are, I think you have every reason to be. You don't go get an Ashton Jeanty for 13 touches. And again, I go back to, I had a coach I talked with Sunday night that said McCaffrey at San Francisco touched the ball 33 times. And the general consensus is Ashton Jeanty is that type of a player. And he got 13. I know he's a rookie. I don't want to hear about this. Um, we're pacing him. He's a rookie. I don't want to hear that. I just don't want to hear it. I don't buy it. Um, I certainly believe that they are being sincere, but I don't care if they're being sincere. You picked him six. It's ridiculous. Get him out there and use him. He's incredibly talented. Now, come into a week this week where you're taking on the Broncos, who are going to put massive pressure. They're able to get that four-man rush, and they are dominant. They are dominant. I'm going to say this to you right now. They are a Super Bowl caliber defensive line. And so I asked Gino today, how critical is it going to be to get that ball up quick? Because these guys are going to be in Gino's face right now. Now, especially, you're going to be in a lot of 12 formation with a single back, 12 meaning one quarterback, two tight ends, one guy on each side. I guess they could be balanced, but you get my point. One quarterback, and I'm one. You got the one running back, and you got the two tight ends. So you have no fullback. So if you're going to get the ball out quick, then that means you're going to have tight ends that release, or some receivers coming across, or some slants. Um, if you're going to want to get Ashton in the game, you're going to have to get him outside quick. So this is going to be, to me, this whole entire game. If the Raiders went up to Mile High and won, I would be surprised. I don't think they're going to, but I would not be shocked because there's enough talent here. And I'm going to get to the loss of Jakobi in a minute. But to me, one of the ways that you deal with a fast pass rush that isn't blitzing, and they will blitz, but they don't have to blitz much, is you got to get the run game going. And then it forces them to bring some guys up into the box, opens up your passing game a little bit more. But this is going to be fascinating to watch. And at this point in the season, my opinion doesn't matter. And quite frankly, neither does yours or the other people around the NFL. It's their opinions. They're coaching for the future, for their future jobs. They're coaching for um, however you want to look at it. And our opinions don't matter, but I can tell you a lot of people who I respect greatly in the football world uh, share my sentiments that Ashton Jeanty is not being used at all in the right way. And I will cede to Chip Kelly. He has forgotten more about football than I know. But that doesn't mean I don't know. And it doesn't mean I'm not talking to people who know, who have Super Bowl rings. That's a big deal. Um, I'm going to talk about the defense real quick, and then I'm going to get to Jakobi. I want to quickly say this. I asked Pete Carroll on Monday if the poor tackling in the second half, and really the fourth quarter and overtime, not even really the third quarter, um, was just coming out of a bye week. And reason being, you're not practicing like you do. So you can get a little bit out of shape, plus you're not going contact. Pete said it was an excuse. Um, I asked PG about it today. I knew the answer I was going to get, but I still asked it. And he's like, no, that had nothing to do with it. And I agree with them both, by the way. But it still is a fair and germane question to ask. It's why I asked it. To me, when you look in the fourth quarter and Jacksonville's not leaving the field, your offense just is pitiful. And they're 15 minutes, you know, at the end of the game, they had 15 minutes more of time of possession. That means your team, your defense played an extra quarter beyond your offense. That's unfathomable. That's unfathomable. That just where I'm from in Michigan, we'd say that dog don't hunt. That just makes no sense to me whatsoever. And again, this is where your offense has to help your defense. It's called complementary football. The defense avoids the turnovers. If you have to punt, no big deal. Your defense holds. You run the ball, you use the clock to let your defense stay rested, and there's no so you can say, yeah, but they scored 29 points. Yeah, and they had the ball 15 less minutes. This was a major criticism of Brian Kelly's offenses for the longest time. Remember when he was at Central Michigan, and then of course, you know, he leaves Central, he goes to Cincinnati, he goes to Notre Dame, goes to LSU. But Brian Kelly's teams and a lot of fast-paced teams would have exorbitant time of possession for the opponent because their offense could score a ton of points, but their defense couldn't get any help. I remember a very, very good friend of mine whose son was being recruited to play football. And Notre Dame was one of the schools recruiting him. And the school that was recruiting him, which was a major, major school, said to him, you're a defensive player. Why do you want to go play for Brian, where the offense scores quick and then you're out on the field and everyone says if we only had a defense, we were good. And it was a really good recruiting angle. And it was a truthful recruiting angle. And he ended up going somewhere else. And had a very good career, including pro. But the point was he was a defensive player, and that is an example of how that hurts. So it's going to be really interesting to watch how they go up here. Do they try to just throw the ball? And if they do, they're taking a chance at getting Geno slaughtered. Now, there are a lot of different ways to attack this. You're in that 12 personnel. So if they stay rushing 4, then you can do some things. If you've got 7 guys on the line, you can do some things. You can 7 guys on the line and Ashton saying and block. Now you got mass protection. But the problem is if you've got 7 guys on the line and Geno and Ashton, you only got 2 receivers and they got 7 guys covering them. So you really are not going to be able to live in max coverage. So then you have to say, okay, what are we going to do here? So do we split and go five wide? Put Ashton outside. Do you go four wide and put Ashton and then just do quick stuff? And if you're quick enough, you nullify the four rushers. That's the way you take them out of the game. Or you can try to run the football. And if you get past that first wave of pass rushers, then you force them to load the box a little bit more. So there's a lot of angles here. This is going to be a really interesting football game. Again, I don't expect the Raiders to win. It's going to be an interesting game from my standpoint because I'm going to be watching what are the coaches thinking. We're going to learn a lot about the thinking process of this staff um, on Thursday night. So let's turn to Jakobi. I got texted this morning very early that the deal was going to happen. And I didn't go on Twitter until well, at first I couldn't. I was just told. Um, but then when I got the green light to tell about it, I wanted to make sure I got the compensation. Raiders pick up a fourth and a sixth. Um, Jacksonville has 2 4th rounders, so the Raiders are going to get their whatever 4th rounder is uh, the higher pick. They're going to get that one. I want to address some things with Jakobi. First of all, in the interest of full disclosure to you, because I always do that. It's not bragging. I'm just um, trying to be a man of integrity with you. I have a great relationship with Jakobi. He's a friend. I can tell you that uh, he, up until about training camp, wanted to be here. I think he wanted the deal done. I think the Raiders were going to re-sign him under Tom Telesco. So their understanding was the deal's going to get done. They're going to have a deal. Tom gets fired, and Spytek, for whatever reason, didn't want to do that. And so there were people in the building that wanted Jakobi to get a deal. And but it doesn't matter what those people thought because ultimately the decision makers didn't want the ultimate decision makers did not want to do that. That's fine. I have no problem with it. Um, I believe, and I think the Raiders would say, no offer like that came. I would say to you that I said before the start of the season, it had nothing to do with my friendship. If the Raiders didn't want him, I had no problem with them trading him. This is a business. My problem is, so you pick up a fourth and a sixth. Okay. I think they could have picked up a three minimum. I mean, that's a very good offer as a three. I believe they could have got a three, but they were very adamant that he was not available. And because I know people who called me and said, do you think Jakobi's going to hold out? And no, it's not going to hold out. But regardless, I think the Raiders got a very good deal, a fourth and a sixth, and got themselves a good deal. And I think the Raiders Spytek came out a winner on this. And I think Jakobi came out a winner. He's got relationships with the Jacksonville staff, and I'm happy for him. I want to talk, though, about how he handled this. He was frustrated because he thought with Telesco he was getting a deal, and all he did was show up. He didn't hold out. He didn't create drama. When media people asked him, do you still want to be traded? I do. But he still worked hard, wanted to be here. This is a case where he's not here because the Raiders didn't want him, not because he didn't want to be here. Now, at the end, once they made it clear how they valued him, then he was ready to go. Then he was willing to go. But he gave everything he had until the last moment he was here. No prima donna, no worried about himself, nothing. No, I hurt my hamstring. Nothing. He worked hard. He kept his mouth shut. And he left here a player that these guys love him. I care about him. He's a friend with these guys. And the Raiders move on. They move on. So there you go. I think as best as it could have been handled at this point, thumbs up for Spytek, thumbs up for Jakobi. But he was a true professional and handled it right. And I think years from now, when there are holdouts, when there are guys who want new contracts, a lot of people, including this reporter, are going to reference back to how Jakobi handled it. Now, I want to make one other point. If I was him, I would have done it the same way he did it. But I understand why if he would have held out, because he had leverage and it would have forced a trade. And his belief, and he told me this a while ago, was I signed a contract. And that's my word. And that's why you may remember when the rumors were out there, was he going to um, hold out? And I broke the story and said, he's not holding out. It's just not him. So I understand why some people do. It's a business. So I'm fine with that. But I think the way he handled it was just a man of integrity. He's a new father, and which I was the first to report that, and so happy for him. But Raider Nation lost a very good player and a classy player who's a professional that loved you guys. And Spytek did his very best to get the most compensation that he could get at this point for the Raiders. I think he did a very good job. I think he deserves the tip of the hat. And Jakobi gets to go play with people who want him, who have a chance at the playoffs, and a staff that wants him and wants to utilize him. So I think everybody came out a winner. I just, he's a relatively young player who's really talented. And you're trying to build a roster. So, but obviously they don't think of Jakobi the way I do, which is fine. They don't have to. These are the ones getting paid millions of dollars to do the job, not me. So there you go. That is the latest from here at headquarters. I'm going to be watching very closely the game on Thursday. I'm going to have some interesting stuff for you tomorrow. I'm going to be talking to Pete tomorrow, and I'm going to have some very interesting stuff. So thank you for keeping it tuned to si.com/NFL/Raiders/on SI. I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you. I'm not entitled to be the Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI. I'm not entitled to it. I have to work every day at it, but I am blessed to have it. I get to do it. I don't have to. And I wouldn't get to do it without the readers, watchers, listeners, and viewers. So from me and my family to all of y'all, God bless you and thank you so much.